All right, that's about as much Neilio as I can take. Props to you, Neilio. You're a bad, bad man. All right. However, today, guys, I did not make a video just to show you that Tendrils beats Stab Wound. However, you got to have the sweet intro, right? I came to show you this game, which by some miracle did not bug. I had been drinking heavily before this game. I have now since become less drunk. Too many shots, for sure. And this game is a funny game because I make a incredibly novice, horrible mistake on the second turn of my game that you should never make and you shouldn't do, but it ends up being extremely fortuitous, as it would have it. And probably ends up winning me this game, though I'm not quite sure how good it is. I really haven't. I just pressed the play button and watched the replay go, so my memory of this game could be quite foggy. However, I do think it's a very good game, and I think it's kind of interesting that a mistake I make, a rookie mistake I make early in the game here, ends up working out into my favor. So let's go over the generals first. For the people who don't know, Maelstrom Wanderer is an 8-mana card. He gives all your creatures haste. He has double cascade, and he's a 7/5. Ruic Thar, the Unabowed. This is a pain in the butt. Vigilance Reach, attacks each turn if able, 6/6, but here's the kicker. Whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, it deals 6 damage to that player. So there's no way I'm going off with this thing in play. It's going to just absolutely murder me. In fact, if I'm even trying to dig for ways to get rid of it, it's still going to murder me. It's going to destroy all my life-based engines. It is just no good. And then getting to play first, Edric, Spymaster of Trest, the king of play mana dork, spam counterspell, take some extra turns, good game. Yeah, so that deck is pretty quick. However, our hand is pretty good. I've got Force with Mind Over Matter. Mind Over Matter, typically not a great card in your opening hand. However, sitting next to a Force of Will, not so bad as it can just be used as a pitch card. Pyroblast, pretty good against the Edric. I've also got a Maelstrom Wanderer, so this will hit the Time Warps from him as well as be able to quickly deal with the Edric. So I'm not too sad to see that. 3 lands gives me a very, very stable start, as well as this Night's Whisper to pick up a couple extra cards and let me dig into my deck and try to maybe combo off quickly after maybe tempoing this Edric player once and maybe even stopping the Ruic Thar from resolving once. And then I'm hoping to maybe Goldfish a turn 4 or 5 kill. At least that was the plan at the time. However, I've been drinking, and this is a decent game, so it doesn't quite pan out that way. So the game starts up pretty much how you'd imagine. Llanowar Elf from the Edric player. Who'd have thought? Well, me. So, top deck Toxic Deluge. Toxic Deluge is pretty excellent against the Edric style deck in that you can remove Mana Dork's Edric, get rid of his whole field. So I'm not too sad to see another control card. And it looks like I'm going to be starting this game off as the control player, even though I want to be the combo mage very much. It looks like I'm going to have to be taking a controlling role this game just because that's what the cards had in store for me. I lead with the Arid Mesa. This is because it can fetch me the blue-red land, and I'll be able to Pyroblast turn 2 Edric if he so chooses to cast it. Ruic Thar opens with the Soul Ring, which does not make me a happy camper at all, because now this thing is coming down faster than I wanted it to, and that's not good. So, he doesn't play Edric, he plays a Chasm Skulker. Now, when I was playing this game and intoxicated, I did not even read this thing. I didn't even realize it made tokens when it died. I've seen this card a zillion times, yet for some reason I still don't know what it does. I didn't even read it when we played it, and I paid almost zero attention to it. And when I do end up killing this thing, which I do, and it puts the squid tokens into play with Island Walk, I'm actually fairly confused for about 3 seconds. So, what this card does is it gets to get a +1/+1 counter whenever you draw a card, and when it dies, you get to put X11 blue squid tokens with Island Walk into play. So, pretty good synergy with the Edric. Maybe not the most excellent card ever made, but not necessarily horrible either. So, he plays Chasm Skulker, and I don't get a Pyroblast as Edric, which makes me a sad panda. So, I draw this Chrome Mox. So, I decided Night's Whisper. I decided to go for the double fetch, because I need to go for the double fetch to get the Night's Whisper unless I grab Badlands with that Arid Mesa, which I really don't want to do. I'd rather have blue lands for my High Tide deck, which will in fact be relevant, and I cast Night's Whisper. Night's Whisper finds Helm of Awakening and Time Twister. Excellent. So here's the misplay. I have 8 cards in my hand. There's absolutely no reason to not use the Chrome Mox. I could use the Chrome Mox on Pyroblast and just have an extra mana and still have a pitch card for the Force of Will. Or I could choose to bend the Mind Over Matter, have a blue mana, probably the more likely choice. In that case, I would just have the Pyroblast up as defense. Though the Force of Will is a little bit better because I really need to counter the Ruic Thar more than anything else, and I now have the Toxic Deluge to answer the Elf player. So what I really should have done is put the Pyroblast to the Chrome Mox to not have to discard. However, I decide to instead pass, then realize I have 8 cards, then decide to discard the Mind Over Matter. I can still pitch the Time Twister to counter Ruic Thar, but then I'm out of gas. So I have no idea what I just did there. It seemed absolutely ungodly horrible, but it's actually going to end up being good. And you'll see why a little bit later. So Edric player does exactly what you think Edric player would do here. He plays his Edric on turn 3, which is what Edric players do quite often. You do usually play maybe a turn 2, maybe 1 or 2 more guys, play their Edric, and then swing in for 3. This is pretty common. So, in fact, he's just going to swing in to draw 2 cards. He splits his attack between me and this other guy, which I have no idea why. If I was him, I probably would have sent both at me, considering this guy hasn't played a green land yet, and he hasn't played Ramp, and he's playing Maelstrom Wanderer, and this guy's a blocker. So I would probably be sending both of those cards at me. However, he decides to send one of the damage at him, and he draws his 2 cards. Okie dokie. His Chasm Skulker now is a 4/4. So I decide we need to deal with the Edric problem right now. We can't let him just keep drawing cards. We Toxic Deluge. So I didn't realize he's getting all these Squid Dudes. Not that it would have stopped me from doing that anyway. He would have got more Squid Dudes if I waited. And I pretty much needed to get Edric out of the way before he starts drawing into a wall of counter spells, which I can never return from. However, since I've been that Mind Over Matter, actually, in hindsight, the best play would have simply been passing and discarding Pyroblast, which is kind of ironic, but probably not. Since I end up winning, I guess I'm okay with this. I can't let this thing resolve. I can't win with it in play. It doesn't matter what I twist her into unless it's a bounce spell for this guy. This is bad news bears. His Soul Ring plus his Far Haven Elf means that he can cast this guy on his 3rd turn, and I just simply can't allow that. So I have to bend my Time Twister. And I'm now in a position where I have 3 lands, a Chrome Mox, a Helm of Awakening, and a Pyroblast and an island, and that is it. This guy has tons of mana, and his general is a problem for me. Edric is recovering quite well. He plays a Wirewood Symbiote, and if he has a land drop, down's going to come Edric for a crap ton more cards again. So, he bashes me for 3. Yay. I don't know if it's a spite bash because I deluged him, or if he's just realized that he probably wants to kill me first. So we pull a copy artifact off the top. From this position, I decide that I just simply need to cast Jeleva. There's only one way I'm going to win this game, and that is if I pray to the Jeleva god and she somehow pulls my ass out of the fire like she always does. And lo and behold, Jeleva comes down. No counter spell on the Jeleva. No one gives the Jeleva any credit. And this is something that I love about Jeleva. This guy has a counter spell. He uses it this round. He has a mana leak. But because he's not afraid of Jeleva, he decides that, I'm not going to counterspell that Jeleva. It's not that bad. I actually have to click one more time to see the cards because she's been really weird lately on MTGO. I get a counterspell and a Harrow off Maelstrom Wanderer, so pretty much nothing. I exile Signet in the land. I get absolutely nothing off Ruic Thar. Lands, birds, Outpost Siege, and I think this is a random werewolf flippy guy thing. Yeah, some mana dork that turns into a werewolf. I don't really care about that. And off Edric, I get rid of a bunch of lands and a Sakura Tribe Scout. So I'm thinking, hey, I hit a bunch of lands. Maybe I'll get rid of his stuff. However, on my own cards, I hit Past in Flames. Not only that, but I exile a bunch of crappy lands off the top of my deck that would have been absolutely horrible to draw. So thank you, Jeleva. You have just saved my ass again in more than one way. And as you'll see right here, actually not right here, he's just going to play a Thran Dynamo, which resolves perfectly fine. Still short on, what's it called, green mana. And the guy mana leaks. He is more scared of Whisperwood Elemental than he is of Jeleva. Sometimes it's good to not be playing Zur. No respect for Jeleva. Whisperwood Elemental is not a bad card. I play him in my cube, and he's in one of my modern decks that's like a 150 card singleton deck that's pretty sweet. But pretty much he gets to manifest the top card of his library at his end step, giving you a 2/2, and if you manifest a creature, you can pay its mana cost and flip it face up. So it's a good card, but the fact that he chose to mana leak that and not Jeleva just absolutely made my day. When I saw him cast that, I had a giant grin on my face. Anyway, he plays Edric for 5, gets to make an insect, and he gets to swing and draw 4 cards. Bash. So, the damage doesn't actually come at me, because he wants to draw the cards, which is excellent. So he gets to draw up to 8, and he discards a Beastmaster Ascension, and now he's at 7 cards. I top deck a Soul Ring, which is never a bad thing. So, the plan here is to swing and Past in Flames. Past in Flames swing. Now, from this position, I don't feel so good. And the reason I don't feel so good about this position is Ruic Thar is definitely going to recast Ruic Thar next turn. And if I can't stop that, I am pretty much up shit creek. I can blow Edric's board back again, but that's really not a winning line. I need value off this Past in Flames, so I have to cast Night's Whisper. Realizing I have to cast Night's Whisper, the most efficient way to do things is to lead with the Helm of Awakening. So I'm going to go ahead and lead with the Helm of Awakening now. And that's part of the reason that Ruic Thar is going to be able to recast. But we're going to Night's Whisper first. We hit Ad Nauseam and Windfall. How disgusting. And this is where not casting that Chrome Mox saves my ass. This is where the misplay comes back and ends up winning me the game. This Ad Nauseam is now a dead card. At 21 life, I guess it's not a completely dead card, but it's not very good from this position, to say the least. Especially with this scary board state he's got. If I bend this Ad Nauseam to the Chrome Mox, and I cast Windfall, not only do I get a refill and get rid of not as good cards, I actually get to have a chance of hitting a land, and then I can use the black mana off Ad Nauseam plus the land to cast Toxic Delusion, blow Edric's board state away, as well as getting rid of Jeleva so I can recast her later in the game if I want. So, we're going to go ahead and play Copy Artifact for 1, because it costs 1 off the Helm. Then we're going to play the Chrome Mox on the Ad Nauseam. Now we get to cast Windfall, and even if we don't hit a land, we're still able to cast Toxic Deluge no matter what with this 1 mana. So no matter what, I'm going to be able to Windfall and Deluge. Now the Windfall hits me Dimir Signet, Scalding Tarn, Counterspell, Pact of Negation, Misty Rainforest, Mana Vault, and Island. Now, I don't have a way of getting out double blue without using the Mana Vault. I could use the mana... Actually, no, that doesn't even help, right? So we're going to play the Mana Vault for 0, obviously. But play a land. So we can use the Mana Vault with the Dimir Signet to cast Counterspell to get rid of Ruic Thar. However, Edric is just absolutely disgusting from this position. I have to deal with the Edric. So the plan here is going to be to use the Pact on the Ruic Thar and wipe the Edric's field with the Toxic Deluge. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Come on. So I'm going to wipe the field. This guy plays a green land, but it's a tap land, so he does not get Wanderer off of my Windfall. He confiscates a Soul Ring for me, which I'm not too sad about. I've got all the mana in the world to go off. I'm not too worried about that angle. Down comes Ruic Thar, the big old butthead, and I'm going to be forced to pact it. Now, I'm interested to see what Edric's going to do with his giant hand. I'm assuming it's going to be develop his board state. However, it's hard cast Knowledge Exploitation, and he doesn't target Maelstrom Wanderer, who's almost guaranteed to be chock full of extra turn spells and giant, disgusting, whatever the hell. He casts it on me, and I have no idea what he's going to get. He chooses to get Hurkyl's Recall and bounce all my free mana back to my hand, which isn't the best thing in the world considering I have to pay for this pact, but I have enough mana to pay for the pact, so it's not a problem. Essentially kind of time walks me a little bit. However, I can play the Chrome Mox and get rid of this Copy Artifact, and now I have Counterspell back up, which, because I don't play the Helm, Ruic Thar can't come down this turn unless he has some kind of ritual type effect, though that is partially what I'm saving it for. But if Wanderer comes down and gets an extra turn, we can stop that. And if he doesn't get something that is too nasty to deal with, we can counterspell any gross thing Edric plays. So, Cyclonic Rift going on my Chrome Mox. Of course you would. I'm going to tap and float the blue just in case he hits the Haymaker spell behind it. All he hits is a Solemn Simulacrum. I decide that I'm pretty much all in on combo, and I might need my life depending on what the line is. So I'm going to go ahead and counter Wander, even though it just gives him more gas. Because I'm not going to be able to counterspell anything else because he bounced the Chrome Mox on this turn. And pretty much my counterspells, as far as I'm concerned, only going to be useful this turn. I guess I could have technically kept it to protect myself from counterspells from Edric on my next turn. But I had a feeling I was getting bashed for 9 if I didn't, and that would leave me at a fairly low life total. Ruic Thar just plays a Thran Dynamo because he can't cast his commander. Edric plays a Seaborn Muse, which kind of scares me, until he follows it up with 2 dudes, which makes me think if he has a counterspell, he's only got 1. So I don't know if he has a counterspell or not yet. So we top deck a Merchant Scroll. How perfect is this? We're going to replay the Sol Ring. That's step 1. The plan here is going to be to Merchant Scroll on the High Tide, and then win the game via Past in Flames. But the Past in Flames is almost like the bait spell, because the real important spell here is a Time Spiral. The Time Spiral is the only real form of gas I have anywhere. So what I'm going to do here, I don't even have a cantrip to do like Mystical Tutor off of the second Merchant Scroll or anything. So I'm going to play the Helm off the Sol Ring, play the Mana Vault for free. We're going to play the Dimir Signet off of the Mana Vault mana. And the reason we're going to do this is because it's going to end up netting us more mana with High Tide, because we're not going to be spending blue off of an island. We're going to be spending 1 less blue before we tap an island. So we're going to have to tap 1 of our islands to the High Tide. We've got plenty of islands. And so the plan here is, when we cast Past in Flames, I've got counter spells to defend all my stuff. So if he had a counter spell, he would be popping it now. And if he does, we can still Time Spiral out. However, he doesn't, so we're going to recast High Tide, cast Merchant Scroll for 1 before we even get a tap, and I'm just going to go for untap for obscene amounts of mana. And I'm going to get Hurkyl's Recall just to build Storm. I go for Spiral. I guess I still had the Windfall, even if I didn't have the Time Spiral. So I'm not in as bad a position I thought. So I cast Time Spiral, and the Ruic Thar, the only guy who doesn't scoop, responds to Time Spiral with a green instant Storm spell that puts Beast tokens into play. Oh, that is just glorious. So he puts 17 4/4s into play. And I'm thinking, well, I have to hit a tutor or a gas spell or I'm done. And unfortunately for him, I hit a better Storm spell than that in Mind's Desire. Yes, that is a Mind's Desire for over 20. Yes, this game is more than done. At this point, I could simply just cast Demonic Tutor for Tendril since they both scooped, but we've got Future Top assembled. After these flips, there's Future Sight, there's Mind Over Matter, there's all the stuff, there's all the things. They are totally dead, except these 2 guys already scooped. I was just going to tutor and kill him, but he goes ahead and scoops it up. So I thought this was a pretty cool game, pretty interesting game, and it was kind of funny how I made that misplay earlier in the game and then was able to save that Chrome Mox for black mana. I think it ended up not mattering because when I windfalled, I ended up getting even luckier and hitting Dimir Signet as well as other things. So I probably would have been able to take that line either way. I think I had extra mana on that turn. I passed with like an open island and a mana vault, so it wouldn't have actually made a huge difference. But I made a little misplay early in the game. I wasn't playing to my best. I wasn't reading all the cards. But I was able to come back. I was able to keep Ruic Thar off the board from hating me out, and I was able to stop Edric from running over me with his quick tempo deck. And I had a lot of fun playing it. So, it's 3:10 in the morning, and I need to go to bed. Moxnick.